Hi, I'm the Promise. It's not Monday, but we're going to pretend it is. So this is the Monday News Rundown for September 25th, 2012. The Wii U edition because Borderlands and Torchlight 2 absorbed the rest of my week edition. Edition is said twice. I don't know, because it did. That's what I named it. I don't actually have any real news for you guys today because Torchlight 2 and Borderlands 2 absorbed my entire week, so I have done literally no research, no reading, nothing. But I know I had said last week that I was going to do a Wii U special type of cast. So that's what I'm going to do now. Because it is something I would like to talk about, because surprisingly enough to both myself and others, I don't hate it. And that's weird. However, what I will do for you guys is I'll still do the new releases, even though it is pseudo Monday. I'll still go through that because there were some pretty awesome titles that came out today slash tomorrow. Really today. You know what? Fuck it. It's the Tuesday news rundown for September 25th, and we're just gonna leave it at that. So, what came out today? Well, just an expansion for a little game called World of Warcraft that some of you may or may not have heard of. You know, it's only been around for like 7 years and has like 12 million subscribers. No, it's really not that big of a deal. But Pandaland Mist Extraordinary Extreme came out today, and a lot of people have been playing it. Some people have beaten it, I think, in Europe, but I think they got banned for exploits or something. But yeah, Mist of Pandaria came out last night, well, slash this morning for us and some on the East Coast of the U.S. It's supposed to be really good. I haven't tried it. I probably won't try it because I think my tenure with WoW is done, even though I'm paid for it till I think November because of the that annual deal slash Diablo 3 Collector's Edition debacle. I don't think I'm going to be paying $35 to play it as much as I would like to be a panda extraordinaire. Yeah, that just probably won't happen. But it came out last night. It supposedly was a very smooth launch, which is pretty awesome for Blizzard since they don't have the most sterling history with game releases. But it's from what I've read, it was a seamless transition. The servers didn't actually go down. People were just playing, and then all of a sudden, Panda time. That's it. You didn't get knocked out and have to re-download a starter patch. Nothing. You just were playing, and then I don't know. Maybe a banner came down and was like, "Welcome to Pandaland," and then pandas came out, and they did panda things, which from what I've heard from various news sources, is just really pooping and eating. Hopefully that didn't happen. Part of me wishes it did because that would be a really awesome launch to a game. So Miss Pandaria is out. It's happening. People are loving it. Surprisingly, I mean, the one thing that I might no, because maybe I don't know. I kind of want to try the new Pokemon thing where you get your pets and you make them battle each other, and it is very much like Pokemon for World of Warcraft. It could be cool. I didn't actually get to play it in the beta because it wasn't active at any of the points that I both had the beta loaded and wanted to play it. You know, because I didn't always keep it loaded because it's like 27 gigs and that's a lot of space. So whenever I wanted to play it, I would just stream it overnight, and the next day I'd give it a whirly gig. But they never actually had Pokemon battles up. So I guess I'll see for my friends, because some of my friends are playing it. I guess I'll see what they think about it, and then I might give it a shot. Who knows? I mean, at $35, it's not the most expensive thing in the world, but I probably won't pick it up just for Pokemon alone. So I guess I'll see how that rolls. In the sports front, if you are a football fan, a true football fan, not American football, but you know what the rest of the world calls football. FIFA 13 and Pro Evolution Soccer 13 came out today. Pretty much for every system. Well, Pro Evo for the normal suspects: PS3, 360, PC. FIFA 13 was PC, PS3, Xbox 360, Vita, 3DS, PSP, Wii, Atari 2600, Commodore 64, Amiga, everything. It's got it. So if you want to go play the balls with your feet, you can run around and kick stuff and make people around the world mad at you because you're good and or bad. So, $60 will get you that experience. Dead or Alive 5 came out. Dead or Alive, I didn't even know there was a fifth one coming out until I looked up the releases. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Probably not a good thing, though. 4 wasn't bad. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I bought it just to play as Master Chief, or whatever their version of Master Chief was. I think her name was Sally or something. Really, the only reason I bought it. And at the time, it was the most beautiful game for the Xbox 360. That was a pretty big part of it, too. I don't really know what 5's about, to be honest with you. So I guess if you like fighting games and giant jiggly breasts, you should probably go check that out. Having not known anything about it, I can still confidently assure you that there are giant jiggly breasts in it, because that is a staple of the series. So, you know, boobs, fighting, go play with it. I don't know. Wipeout 3 is out for the Xbox 360 and PS3. Wipeout, I don't know. It might be cool. It might not. See, now I don't actually think that's the Wipeout that I'm thinking of, to be perfectly honest with you, because the studio that made the Wipeout that I'm thinking of got dissolved, I think last month or earlier this month, Psygnosis. So I don't know what it is. Go check it out. I actually wrote it on this list thinking that it was Wipeout the racing game, but I don't think it is. Like I said, because Psygnosis is gone. So whatever that Wipeout 3 is, you're probably just a hollow shill of what I thought you were, and you should probably just go die. Because fuck you. Marvel vs. Capcom Origins. The origins of Marvel vs. Capcom. I don't know. I mean, I guess it is what it is. And then tomorrow, Castle Crashers. I'm sorry, my mouth is all fucked up today for some reason. God. If I stroke on you, someone just called an ambulance or something. Castle Crashers is out for Steam. Castle Crashers, of course, being the insanely popular 4-player cooperative game for the Xbox Live that came out 3 or 4 years ago. I forget. It's really good, a lot of fun, really cool cooperative game. I think it's going to be dropping on Steam for 10 and or 15. There might be 2 versions, if not 15. Definitely worth a pickup. I'm going to be actually picking it up, and I have played it before for the Xbox, but new set of friends in Steam. So pick it up, give it a whirl. Really cool game. So I'm happy that they managed to get it to Steam, because that's going to bring them a whole lot more revenue and exposure, and hopefully help them out on whatever they're going to be making next. I don't actually know what their next game is, so kudos to them. So that being said, out of the way and whatever, since I have no news for you, I will talk about the Wii U. In case you've been living under a rock, Nintendo is making a new system. It is called the Wii U, which is a terrible name, but quite frankly, I don't really expect much less from Nintendo at this point. Anyway, it's coming out in later this month or early next month. You know what? I'm terrible. I actually don't know when it's coming out, because I had a line right. I use the Windows Post-its on my screen so I can look at stuff, because my memory's shit, and the camera's there, that's there, and it doesn't really look that bad, so I can look at stuff. You think I'm looking at you and I'm smart and stuff. I'm not smart, and my memory's terrible. But I have Post-its, and I had a line for the release date. I don't actually know where it went. It was right there. It's coming out at some point before Christmas, and you probably won't be able to buy it. So I mean, that really is all that you need to hear, because it's a Nintendo system. It's not going to be anywhere, and it's going to be out before Christmas. But you probably can find it on eBay for like $900. Actually, I think people are already selling their pre-order slips on eBay for like $900 to $1,000. So if you've got money to blow and you're so inclined to get ripped off, you should probably go ahead and do that if you really want to get your hands on a Wii U. So what is the Wii U? Well, it's their next console. It's their next real console, because I don't really consider the Wii to be a real console. The Wii was more of, I guess, a social experiment. Probably. See, Nintendo has this weird habit of just releasing random shit as like alphas for future products, and then seeing how we as consumers react to it, and then like 10 years later they're like, oh, so remember when we released that and you guys thought it was really cool? Well, now it's fully fleshed out and it's in the system, and you guys are going to love it. Which is something that I actually do applaud Nintendo for, is they actively just keep inserting these new ideas into, you know, their systems, and then just cultivating it over time. And then once you've forgotten about it, they release it again and you love it all over again, which is pretty cool. And I mean, all right, I'll get this out of the way. Like, I'm really not Nintendo's biggest fan as a whole. And I've said this before. It's because I never really had a Nintendo console growing up. I had handhelds. But, you know, back in the days, the original Game Boy, the original Brick, that didn't really count for much. It was a very select handful of games. They didn't really mirror, you know, the NES experience that well. I mean, they did. It was just on a much smaller scale. Nothing like the back and forth nature between handhelds and consoles today. So I never really had Nintendo. My aunt and uncle had a Nintendo entertainment system, and I spent a lot of time at their house. So, you know, I was familiar with Mario and Duck Hunt and Metroid, Bases Loaded, Triple Double, Zelda, hated Zelda. So, I mean, I was familiar with it as a child, and growing up, I had a Sega, and then I had a PlayStation, and then I had a PS2 and an Xbox. So, I mean, my progression wasn't Nintendo-centric. So I'm not really part of that giant Nintendo circle jerk that exists on the internet and in real life. And then when they released, was it the Game Boy Advanced, I ended up buying, I think on release, me and my sister got one because my mom and my dad are awesome. The only problem was that it didn't have a backlight, so that really sat in the back burner for a long time until I got super addicted to Castlevania Circle of the Moon. On vacation, I think. We were in California, and I believe I started playing it on the plane again because, you know, the planes have those lights that you can position wherever the fuck you want. And I put it like smack dab on the screen. I could actually see what I was doing for once in my stupid life. And I got totally addicted to Circle of the Moon because it was just like Symphony of the Night, which was one of my all-time favorite PlayStation games. So then I got into the Game Boy Advance a little bit. I had a couple of games for that. Like nothing really too serious. You know, like some Pokemon. Actually, I didn't have any of the Game Boy Advance Pokemon games. I had them back for the original Game Boy, the Game Boy Color. And then, you know, after that, my sister had a GameCube, and I really only played it to play Smash Brothers Melee with my friends when we were super stoned. And I mean, that was really the extent of my GameCube playtime. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, it was really just Smash Brothers. And I mean, before that, one of my good friends when I was in middle school and early high school, they had a Nintendo 64. So we played GoldenEye religiously. That and Perfect Dark. We played a lot. So, I mean, but I didn't own it. It was just something that I experienced through somebody else. And I mean, the first Nintendo console that I truly owned was the Wii. And I bought it in a moment of weakness while I was working for GameStop. Someone had traded it in, and I pulled a shifty move, and I ended up buying it from him in cash for the trade-in value, which was still way less than the system's price because GameStop are assholes and they charge nothing for trade-ins. So I ended up getting this Wii for like $110. So I bought it. I bought, what did I buy? That stupid Samurai. Oh, Red Steel. I bought Red Steel. And I bought, I think that's all I had. I had Red Steel, and I got home, and I was so disappointed by it. And I really don't know what I was expecting, honestly. Because, I mean, the reason I didn't buy a Wii was because I knew that it wasn't a gaming system. It was a gimmick. It was a prototype. It was an experiment that I didn't really feel like paying $250 to be a part of. You know, I saw what it was. I saw where it was going, but you know, because I'm a gamer and I'm dumb, I ended up buying one anyway. So yeah, I don't really know what I was expecting. And I also had known for, I think it was out for like 2 weeks when I bought it. So I'd already known for like 2 weeks that Red Steel was shit. But it was pretty much like that scene in Arrested Development where Michael opens the bag that's labeled "Dead Dove Don't Eat," and inside is a dead dove. So yeah, I bought a Wii, I bought Red Steel, hated it, hung on to it just long enough for Twilight Princess to come out, played that for a little bit, realized that it's the same old Zelda experience with 3 of the Ds, didn't like that either, traded it in. So my history with Nintendo is sordid, not very friendly, and quite judgmental. So when they said they were going to make a Wii U, my first thought was, all right, well, it's another Nintendo cash cow that really has no backbone. It's not going to have any staying power. But I shouldn't have, and the reason I shouldn't have is because of the DS. The DS actually is a really good system, and a lot of people thought that the dual screen was a gimmick, but it wasn't. Like Waggle is a gimmick. 2 screens, one of them is a capacitive touchscreen that fully interacts with whatever game you're playing on the top screen. That's not a gimmick. That's a mechanic, and that's actually a very important distinction: mechanic versus gimmick. And it worked for the DS. It worked very well, and it made it a very popular system, one of the best-selling systems of all time, if I'm not mistaken. And I worked 3 of the launches of the DS: the original Fatty, the DSi, and the DS XL. I think I might have done that. I'm not sure. So it sold a lot, and it was because it was really good, and it had actually some really solid games for the system. You know, they weren't very flashy, they weren't very powerful, but they were well made, they were fun, and they were, you know, good gameplay experiences. And I really can't shit on that because it did what it meant to do well, and that was, you know, bring this element of the second touchscreen into a gamer's experience and make them love it. So, I mean, having that as, you know, something to fall back on, I really should have not been so hasty with my initial judgment of the Wii U. And as it turns out, that, you know, I was wrong, because my initial judgment was that it was just, like I said, just another gimmick and very shitty. And that gimmick that I'm talking about is really the crux of the system itself, and that's the controller. And what the controller of the Wii U is it's very reminiscent of I mean, in total size, like a 7-inch tablet, probably a little bit bigger. I'd say probably closer to like a skinnier 10-inch tablet. And all it really is if you've ever seen the Wii, what was that called? The stupid controller they had for the Wii and the arcade games that looked like a Super Nintendo controller. It was like the Wii Pro, something like that. But if you take that controller and you cut it in half, then you expand it and you put a 6.2-inch screen in the middle of it, that's the controller. So you've got a 6.2-inch capacitive touchscreen in the center of it, and then you've got your 2 analog sticks that are now clickable. Nice move, Nintendo. I'm glad that you're catching on to the times 7 years later. So it's got 2 clickable thumbsticks, analog sticks, I should say. It's got a built-in mic. It's got a front-facing camera. It's got an accelerometer and gyroscopes. So it's still got some waggle, but I'm fairly confident that the waggle's not going to be as prominent in the Wii U as it was in the original Wii, because that's not what they're focusing on. It's an added feature, kind of like the 6-axis was with the PS3, which was used marginally when the system launched, and then kind of petered out because everyone fucking hated it. And if you ever played the Ratchet and Clank launch game for the PS3, you know why. It was shit, and it was very hard to use. So it's got gyroscopes, it's got accelerometers, it has near-field communications, which I can only assume means that it will be used with, like, what's that toy? Skylander figures. So you, like, put your figure next to it and he pops up on the screen. You have a little kid orgasm of joy puke as you play with your Skylander. And also, I would assume, like other Wii U controllers. But I mean, that's the crux of the system. And really what it translates into is a DS on a much larger scale, simply because you have this giant screen, and it's a nice screen too, from what I've heard. It's very crisp, it's very clean, very vibrant. It's a good screen. In the middle of this controller, you know, it gives you that same experience where it gives you more functionality with whatever game you're playing. Even so much as to actually just be, you can play the entire game you're playing on that screen and not the television. Like that's how far you can take it. So let's say you're playing, you know, whatever Zelda U game, and your wife comes in and she wants to watch TV. No big deal. You switch the game to your screen. She watches television. You're still playing Zelda U. Very cool. And when you're not doing that, that screen can act as pretty much anything you want, or not anything you want, anything the developer wants within the game. Inventory, map, you know, menus, whatever it might be, a sniper scope, like whatever it might be, that's what it can be used for as you're playing the game, which is really fucking cool. Very cool. But I'm going to leave the controller aspect of it alone right now because I'm going to get into that in a little bit in terms of the general value of the system. In terms of the system itself, no one really knows what's inside of it specifically. They have broad ideas of what's powering this thing, and it's the CPU itself is an IBM Power 7 multi-core, which puts its raw computational power somewhere at a PS3 plus. It's not necessarily, well, it's not a next generation system. I'm just going to put that out there right now. It's not next gen. It's not going to be able to hold its own against an Xbox 720 or a PS3 in terms of, you know, processing and graphical capabilities. That's not happening. It'll be better than the current generation, but it won't be next generation better. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way. So it's got an IBM Power 7 multi-core, which means it can outperform a PlayStation 3 marginally. So it will be better than our current generation in terms of how quickly it's going to be able to load stuff and process stuff. Its GPU, it's all they'll say is that it's a Radeon HD GPU. Again, current estimates put it at above the 360 and a PS3, so it's going to look better than a PS3 and a 360, but it's not going to look as good as a 720 or a PS4. It's got 2 gigs of RAM, it's got 1 gig for games, and it's got another gig for the actual system and its processes in and of itself, which is nice. I like the fact that the system would have dedicated RAM for different functions within the system itself. That's a really good idea, and it's something that will make it hopefully just run smoother as it can perform background and foreground tasks simultaneously with 2 separate pieces of RAM. Really cool. Now, where it stumbles just in the general gist of its makeup is really the storage. It's because there's 2 models of the Wii U. There's the basic and then there's a premium. And the basic is pretty much everything you would expect. It's just the system, a controller, all your necessary cables. That's it, and it's white. And the premium is a black system, and it comes with, I think, a stand for the system, a charging dock for the controller. I want to say Nintendo Land, which is a launch game, and the upgraded memory. So the basic has 8 gigs of onboard flash memory. 8 gigs is not a lot. 8 gigs is barely what you're going to be able to find on you know, like an iPod Nano these days. The premium has 32 gigs, which is beefier, but it's still 32 gigs, when a lot of the baseline models of the current systems are dropping with well over 100 gigs of space. That being said, I don't foresee the Wii U focusing on the same type of downloadable content as the Xbox and PS3. Like, I know on my Xbox, if I were to look at the hard drive, a vast majority of the space that's being used is for preloaded software. And that's something that I do. When I get a new game, I bring it home, I pop it in my Xbox, I go to the dashboard, I install it. Just so that the load times are shorter, you know, there's less pop-in, whatever the benefits may be, I install it. That pretty much puts a full ghost of the game on the system. So every game I do that for, you know, that's like 5 to 7, possibly up to 9 gigs per game. So, I mean, that's where a lot of my space is going on my Xbox. I don't think that's going to be the case for the Wii U. Not with that type of size. So you're not going to be preloading games at all, if any. I also don't think they're going to be really focusing on digital distribution of games. And the reason I think that is A, because of the size, B, because it's using a proprietary disc. It's not using, excuse me, I felt a tickle coming up and I didn't want to cough into you. It's using a proprietary disc. It's not using your the high density DVDs that Xbox uses. It's not using the Blu-rays that PlayStation is using. They're using their own discs that are Blu-ray quality or class. They're not actually Blu-ray, and that's something that Nintendo likes to do, or I should say, like to do with the GameCube, and that's kind of their way of deterring piracy by having their own type of discs that you would then have to rip and burn. Because they're doing that, I can't see them focusing on digital distribution if they're going to be actively manufacturing and pressing their own discs. That's kind of counterintuitive. You kind of want to go one or the other, because if you were to go digital, you could save all that money on pressing your discs and vice versa. So I don't think they're going to be going very heavily on the digital distribution model. If you do download a game on the Wii U, which you can, because they actually have their own network that's very much like Xbox Live, where you can stream Netflix, Hulu. There's a social aspect to it. There's going to be a whole sub-game, not meta-game, really, using the Mii's, much like PlayStation Home has on the PlayStation 3. So they're finally incorporating that online model that every major system is using right now, which is great, because that means it's going to be even easier to play things online, which in the past it hasn't been, because friend codes are like this long and have like 47 numbers to them in letters. Real pain in the ass. So they're moving past that onto an actual online model. And if you do download a game off of that online model, it's going to, by my guesstimation, it's going to be very much in tune with what you would have downloaded on the Wii, where it's a Game Boy Advance game, or a Nintendo game, a 64 game, a Super Nintendo game, something smaller in size. Possibly even some GameCube games, but they're going to be over a gig in and of themselves. But they're probably going to follow that same model, where you're just downloading the classics, let's say. They don't take up a lot of space at all. And I judging by the sizes, they're going to be following that model. Now, you can upgrade the size of your Wii U's with expandable flash cards. So it doesn't have to be 32 gigs. You can make it, what's the highest flash card now? 128 gigs, I think. So you can put it up to the 150 gig range if you choose to expand it yourself. But I mean, it's really not fair to you guys, if they make plans on a system-wide basis based on what you could possibly upgrade to rather than what they give you. So, I mean, in terms of the actual system, that's my only drawback, is just they're giving you very little space. And I'm hoping that they're smart enough to not really throw that in your face with the features that they give you, and instead they can work with it, and make it not that glaring of an issue. In terms of video, it's finally pumping out 1080p HDMI video. Again, they're 5 years late to the party, but I guess late's better than never. So you're finally going to have, crisp, clean, beautiful games coming out of a Nintendo system once again. Because, I mean, let's face it, Nintendo 64 crisp and clean weren't really their MO. It was very muddy and washed out, but they were impressive graphics in their own right. Super Nintendo, gorgeous, gorgeous sprites. I mean, no system at the time, besides maybe the Neo Geo, could come close to the colors and the clarity that the Super Nintendo pumped out. It was a gorgeous system for its time, and I'm glad to see that they're, I mean, again, they're late, but I'm glad to see that they're stepping up their game to make really good-looking products once again. Now, I mean, that's really the long and the short of the system itself. In terms of launch titles, it's what you would expect. It's Super Mario Brothers, Nintendo Land, Epic Mickey 2, Assassin's Creed 3 is making an appearance, Darksiders 2 is making an appearance. The game that I'm most excited about is called Zombie U, which is for the first time in a long time. No, never mind, because of Red Steel. Shit, never mind. But it's nice to see an M-rated title on a launch list for a Nintendo system, and I'm looking forward to it personally because it looks like it's a really, really awesome zombie game. Simply because of how it utilizes the touchscreen and the game itself. And I guess that's a good time as any to launch into exactly how you do use the controller when you're playing a Wii U game. And I saw a video for Zombie U like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and it's what really got me excited about the game at all, because I'm kind of zombied out. I mean, you know, so sue me. Between the Dead Risings and the DayZs, you know, and the zombie modes and the shooters, I just had enough of zombies. It was Left 4 Dead, like I just too much, and I really didn't give a shit. So when I saw they were making a game called Zombie U, in my head I thought, all right, well, Nintendo's cashing out on what could be a dying genre of games. But then I started seeing footage of the game from like Gamescom and E3 and stuff like that, and I got very excited because there was that Nintendo spark in the game, something that I haven't seen in a really long time, where it's well made, it's polished, it looks good, and it plays, well, I haven't played it, but it looks like it plays good, and a large part of that is because of the controller. And while I was watching them play it, they had an interactive map of the area on the controller. And I remember there was one clip where I think the camera guy asked the guy from IGN, he's like, well, dude, where are you supposed to go? And the online reporter from IGN said, I don't know, hang on. And he hits something, and this map comes up, and he starts manipulating it with his hands. And he's like, all right, I'm here, and I've got to go here. So this is where I got to go. And then he like double tapped it, and then a waypoint came up on the screen. From just by him double tapping the controller on a map, he now sees where he has to go on the screen. That was awesome. Like, that is so fucking cool. In any other console, any other game, you would have just, you know, pressed circle, went to the menu, went to map, fucked around in the map with your analog sticks, trying to find it, found it, hit X twice, set a waypoint, hit circle again to back out, press start again to get back into the game, there's your waypoint. That's like 7 steps, and it takes probably close to 10 seconds. This guy was like, boom, here, boom, there it is. Like 4 seconds later, 2 steps, he's got a waypoint on the screen. And at any point while he's moving, he can just look down and see where he is in the map and the screen. Awesome. Fucking awesome. And then, you know, he got accosted by a bunch of zombies, and I think he was using like a pipe or a bat, and he was like, this isn't going to work. I need some firepower. So he opens up his inventory on his gamepad, finds his pistol, and then he drags it over to his character. His character's got a pistol now. Looks up, starts aiming and shooting zombies. As simple as that. And again, if you've played a DS, you played a DSi, you played a 3DS, this isn't anything new to you. But it's not necessarily the concept as it is the scale. Yeah, and what's the word I'm looking for? It's the scale and it's the follow through in terms to how committed they are to applying this to console gaming. That's really grabbing me, because I've had a DSi. Like these aren't new concepts in and of themselves, but they are new concepts when you're playing a game on your big screen television in glorious 1080p. This is new ground that they're breaking, and I think it's really awesome. What else did he do? He was going through. If they had someone had to contact him in the game, instead of coming up on the screen and cluttering your display, it came up on your controller and came through the speaker in the controller. So it sounded like you were getting it through some kind of, you know, external transceiver. Really fucking cool stuff. I mean, and that's just an idea of what they can do with this gamepad within a game. And I don't think this Zombie U is a first-person game. I could be wrong, and if I am, I'm sorry, but I don't think it is. So, I mean, for any in-house Nintendo products, I mean, I guess the sky's the limit with this fucking controller. It's great. And I mean, the downside is that the controller is really expensive. Really expensive. They didn't give an actual price domestically, but they did throw out some numbers when they did the launch event for Japan. And just by doing some conversion on yen to dollars, it looks like your typical controller is going to run you anywhere from $125 to $150. So they're pricey. They're really pricey. In terms of the entire system, they're almost half of the cost. For good reason. Like I said, there's a lot in that fucking controller, and it is essential to your gameplay experience. I know that in any console, the controller is essential to your gameplay experience, but only in as far as moving your character around and doing stuff. This is an integrated experience into your game. So I mean, this is beyond essential. You have to have one, and that leads me to my next point. I feel that the Wii U is taking a huge step forward in that it's not really natively supporting multiplayer games. Some of the Wii U games do have the functionality for a separate gamepad, but for the most part, they're single-player games. Now, they might have online components, but they still are a very single-player-centric experience, and that's good, and I'll tell you why. The reason that's good is because recently, I feel like the industry as a whole has become inundated with online games to the point where it's now an industry focus. Okay? That's what companies focus on. They want the multiplayer to be better or more fleshed out than the single player. Which for a lot of people, I guess, is a good thing. That's what they want. I know a lot of the kids who play Call of Duty and the college guys who play Halo, you know, their experience with the game is multiplayer centric, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing. Let's say, because it's moving away from what originally made games as great as they are, that's the single player experience. That was the core of any game. Like, yeah, you did play some games of Mario where someone plugged in a second controller and played as Luigi. In all likelihood, it was your younger sibling, and that's because they bugged your parents enough where they were just like, all right, listen, do me a favor, just let her play so she'll shut the fuck up. All right, like that was really the crux of the multiplayer experience. Like, there weren't a lot of people who actively said, bro, want to play some Mario? That wasn't really how it went down. And what was funny between myself and my friends was that when we did play Mario as a group, we didn't plug in 2 controllers. We passed around 1 controller in a round robin. Every time you die, you give it up fashion. You know, and that's where they started fleshing out and becoming a legitimate industry. Was just this multitude of fantastic single-player games. You know, Zelda, Mario, Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, Final Fantasy. They all helped create the industry that we're in today. And I feel like we're moving away from it by just focusing on the multiplayer aspect of these games, the online aspect of these games. And I mean, last month, the CEO of Electronic Arts proudly stated that he does not greenlight any game that does not have a multiplayer component. Proudly stated that. Like, what a fucking asshole. What an idiot. What an ignorant person to his own industry. You don't, like, that's not a good business practice. It is I mean, it's, alright, it is a good business practice to him because his online games make him money. But, I mean, it just goes to show you how far we're shifting away from what the core of what made us so great was. And that was the single-player experience. And every year that I play games, less and less games come out that grab me viscerally into a single-player experience. And I mean, last year I can think of Skyrim, obviously, because, you know, Bethesda is one of the last bastions of great single-player games in terms of story and content. Skyrim grabbed me. Uh, 2011. What else came out last year? I don't even know. Before that, BioShock, one of the great ones. Uh, the original Borderlands, I actually, even though that is a multiplayer game, it did grab me by myself because I'm a loot whore and I played the majority of my Diablo 2 by myself. But I mean, that's not the same thing. It's not a single player game at all. There have been some RPGs that have really grabbed me, but I mean, sadly, even myself, in the last 5 or 6 years, I play mainly online games, mainly multiplayer-centric games. And that's not what I grew up on. I grew up on games like Xenogears. I grew up on games like Final Fantasy VIII, Shining Force 2, Vector Man, Bubsy, Sonic the Hedgehog, Castlevania. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, really, because I didn't really play Castlevania for the Nintendo. Castlevania. What else did I play? Doom, Doom 2, Doom 3. Like, that's where I come from. That's where a lot of us come from, and we're just moving away from it. And I really do hope that the Wii U can just minutely start a paradigm shift back to making great single player games. Zelda, all right, like which one was it for the Super Nintendo? A Link to the Past. I think A Link to the Past was the one for the Super Nintendo. I haven't finished it. I played all my Super Nintendo games as a young adult and an adult, so I have a different perspective on the golden era of Super Nintendo. But A Link to the Past, while I haven't finished it, is a great game. It stands the test of time. It's fucking great. Same thing with Final Fantasy VI or 3, depending on who you talk to. Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, stuff like that. Like, those are phenomenal single player games. Phenomenal stories. And I hope that in this new age where Nintendo looks like they are getting serious, I really hope that they can buckle down and try to replicate some of that intensity, some of that passion for creating, a single player story and world for you to inhabit and experience that doesn't need, your cousin Marv from Louisiana joining your game so you can beat a boss, or go do some deathmatch or microtransactions or DLC or what have you. Like, I have a sincere hope that Nintendo can just try, even if, like I said, even if minutely, just to replicate some of that single player greatness. Because I miss that. I really do. Like, I miss buying a game and being genuinely excited to sit down and play it for its story rather than going on and dicking around with my buds online. And while that's great, and I'll keep doing that, it doesn't make me miss that single player aspect and any less at all. And like I said, in recent memory, Call of Duty 2 had a great single player. BioShock had a great single player. Red Dead Redemption, the Grand Theft Autos had a great single player. What else? Like I said, a couple of RPGs, namely Oblivion, Morrowind, and Skyrim, for myself at least. I know there are more traditional RPGs that a lot of people have really gotten into. I know the Last Remnant kind of got a bum rap and is supposed to be a pretty decent game, actually. But again, it's a very small percentage of what's coming out. And if you move the slider back 15 years, totally opposite. Every game is just this single player extravaganza. And that's part of the reason why, as an industry, we're becoming very stale, because we're just rolling over the same thing over and over again. Madden 2000 through 2013. FIFA 2000 through 2013. Call of Duty, whatever. Battlefield, whatever. Halo, whatever. It's the same thing over and over again with just a different face and some new features, but nothing is changing. It's stagnant. And a lot of that is because of what people want. They want this online game, and they're apparently content to just play the same old thing over and over again. It's got to break at some point. Okay, it can't keep going the way it's going. It has to change. It has to move forward at some point. And I'm praying that it happens with the Wii U, because that would mean there is a foundation in place set for when the PS3 and the Xbox 720 release that they can expound upon with true next generation technology, and can encapsulate us in these truly next generation stories and experiences that I have missed so much from my youth. And that can happen. It is a possibility if the Wii U can just get the ball rolling. I'm confident that the next generation of consoles can pick it up and keep it rolling in a positive direction while still delivering you the online content that, you know, most of you guys crave. And if that does happen, I'll be a very happy camper. Very happy camper, because I'll be able to really flesh out both sides of what makes me love this industry so fucking much. And, you know, that's the social aspect and the story aspect. So that's why I think the Wii U has the potential to be the savior. And that's why, much to the surprise of a lot of my friends and colleagues, I don't absolutely hate it. And I think that it is something that can be very positive for gaming as a whole. So yeah, that was my rant about the Wii U and how it can save games. The Jesus U, if you will. Because this isn't really a traditional rundown, I haven't really thought of a shout out. Last week I had Black Mesa. What can I give you sons of bitches this week that you can go check out? What am I playing? Nothing. I mean, alright, fuck it. Torchlight 2. Great game. Great game. It's pretty much expounded on Torchlight 1 in every possible way, and it feels more like Diablo 3 than Diablo 3 did, to be quite frank. When I play Torchlight 2, it feels like I'm playing Diablo 2. The loot matters. The loot happens, more importantly. It's a skill-based system, an incremental skill-based system, not like Diablo 2 where you just get it and it auto-upgrades every time. You need to decide what points you're going to put into what skills. There are actual builds involved that you can seriously fuck up and have to start over, which was one of, personally, my favorite parts about Diablo 2 was really knowing your shit before you got going, or else you were screwed. And that's a huge part of Torchlight 2, is planning out your build and then executing your build without fucking it up too bad. And like I said, the loot actually drops. You do get upgrades. The loot matters. I've been using, I guess, what is their term for legendary in that game? I guess unique. I've been using a unique pair of shoulders for 30 levels now because I haven't found anything better, which is something that, you know, you couldn't do in Diablo 3. Your legendaries got replaced on a pretty regular cycle. It's fun. More importantly, it's a very fun game. It finally has online multiplayer, which isn't the best, but I will take it over just playing by myself any day of the week. And you can import your single-player characters into multiplayer seamlessly without a hitch, which is really fucking cool. And it's moddable, so that game's going to have a lot of longevity. The first one had a lot of longevity because of its user-created mods. It had classes, it had characters, it had spells, it had items, it had dungeons. This is going to have all of that and more because it's expanded its player base considerably. So that is my shout out. Excuse me, I'm getting very parched again. I don't know what it is. I've been coughing all day and I apologize, but that is my shout out for the week. Torchlight 2, and you can pick it up on Steam, or you can pick it up at torchlight2game.com. That'll bring you directly to the Runic website for Torchlight 2. It's only $20. That's it. $20 gets you a better action RPG experience than the $60 Diablo 3. So if that's not a good enough reason to go pick it up, quite frankly, I don't know what will be for you. And that's that's it. Torchlight 2. And I believe that wraps it up for this week. So this was the Tuesday news rundown for September 25th, 2012. I'm the Province. You guys are beautiful, and I'll see you next week.